Boston Dynamics just put Atlas into what looks like a full human mode, and it's one of those updates that doesn't feel like a normal robotics demo anymore. We're talking clean cartwheels, backflips, and the kind of mid-step balance recoveries that usually only show up in slow-motion sport highlights. At the exact same time, China is going hard in the opposite direction. Not just one robot doing stunts, but groups of humanoids learning and performing complex motion in cultural settings. AgiBot has humanoid training alongside real Shaolin monks, and then running an entire robot-led gala show in Shanghai, designed to prove they can operate at scale with stability, coordination, and endurance for a full hour. And then, while the US and China are flexing capability, Faraday Future shows up and tries to flex something else: commercialization. They're not just showing robots, they're taking deposits, listing prices, and promising delivery timelines, which is a very different kind of signal. Alright, let's start with the US because Boston Dynamics is basically using Atlas to close out an era. The latest Atlas footage feels like a stress test disguised as a highlight reel. It's not just, can it do the trick? It's, can it survive the ugly moments in between? Atlas begins with something that's actually harder than people realize: walking in a way that doesn't look robotic. The gait is smooth, the posture is natural, and the transitions between steps look less like programmed sequence and more like a body continuously stabilizing itself. Then the video shifts gear fast. Atlas throws a sideways cartwheel, arms and legs working together to preserve momentum, and flows straight into a backflip. The rotation is tight, the landing is controlled, and what really sells it is the impact handling. It doesn't just slam into the floor and hope. You can see the body distributing force through the legs and torso like it's managing the landing, not merely enduring it. And the most important part is that this isn't even the clear runs. It's the failures, because they extend clips and bloopers showing something that matters more than any single trick: recovery. There are moments where Atlas places a foot slightly off, starts to lose balance, and then makes subtle corrections mid-motion to keep moving. Those micro adjustments are what separate pre-scripted animation from real control. Now, here's where the backstory matters. Boston Dynamics didn't do this alone. They've been working with the Robotics AI Institute, or RAI, led by Mark Raybert, the same person who founded Boston Dynamics in the first place. That partnership was announced in early 2025, and the focus is basically reinforcement learning and pushing Atlas towards more dynamic, generalizable behavior. So, what you're seeing in this gymnastics phase is not just a party trick, it's them pushing whole body mobility right to the edge before moving full attention towards industrial deployment. And Boston Dynamics itself has been pretty clear about where Atlas is headed. It's not just a research mascot anymore. The product version is being built for work. The big idea behind these demos is that Atlas isn't learning a flip system and a walking system separately. The direction the field is moving, and what Boston Dynamics and RAE keep pointing towards, is whole body control that can transfer skills reliably. A core problem in robotics has always been this: simulation is cheap. Real robots are expensive, and the gap between these two destroys progress. If you can train control policies in simulation and then run them on real robot with minimal extra tuning, you remove one of the biggest bottlenecks in the entire pipeline. That's why Atlas's work, being framed around reinforcement learning and sim to real transfer, is such a big deal. Because once the gap narrows, stunts stop being stunts. They become proof that the system can handle dynamic contact, imperfect landings, unexpected slips, the stuff that real environments are full of. Now here's the part where this stops being entertainment. Hyundai has publicly laid out a deployment timeline for Atlas at Hyundai Motor Group main plant America in Georgia, starting around 2028, with initial work focused on highly repetitive sequencing tasks and then expanding into more complex assembly works around 2030. That's not rumor talk. It's been stated in Hyundai communications and also reported by major outlets, and the product version specs are not subtle. Boston Dynamics has described Atlas as a 56 degree of freedom humanoid with human scale reach and serious strength, up to 50 kilograms, designed to operate in industrial temperature ranges. So the flips aren't the goal, they're the pressure test. If you can control a humanoid through full body dynamic motion and recover from instability, you're building the foundation for reliability while it's carrying parts, moving around humans, and doing repetitive work without drifting into failure. Alright. That's the US side. Now let's jump to China, because the vibe over there is completely different. It's less one robot pushing peak athleticism and more scale, coordination, and culture as a testbed. AgiBot released footage of humanoid robots performing kung fu sequences alongside real Shaolin monks at the Shaolin temple, and that location is doing a lot of work. Shaolin is globally symbolic, it's discipline, precision, repetition, and control, so putting humanoids there sends a message. This isn't just robots can move, it's robots can learn and execute complex human emotion in a meaningful human context. And the clip is effective for one reason: the robots aren't just waving arms, they're balancing, stepping, rotating, and syncing. That sync is what's most important, because once you can coordinate multiple humanoids reliably, you're not just building robots, you're building systems. AgiBot ties this into the embodied AI stack, often referenced as Genie Operator 1, also called GO1, and they describe capabilities like zero sample generalization and latent actions, where the model infers motion patterns from visual frames rather than needing endless labeled datasets for every movement. In plain terms, they're trying to reduce the amount of handcrafted training needed to get human-like action, and the AgiBot took the Shaolin moment and basically said, cool, now let's prove endurance. What AgiBot did is they hosted a robot-led gala called AgiBot Night in Shanghai, a 60-minute show built around robots doing performances like dance, music, comedy, and staged acts. The headline claimed that it's a robot-led event designed to demonstrate embodied intelligence outside the lab, and what makes it different from normal demos is duration and coordination. Instead of one robot doing one impressive move and then resetting, this format forces system-level stability. Robots operating back-to-back, transitions between routines, timing across groups, and keeping things from falling apart live. Even reporting around the event emphasizes it's a real-world trial for stability, coordination, and endurance, and Reuters noted that the livestream drew significant attention, with the show positioning as a major promotional showcase ahead of Lunar New Year programming. So when you see multiple humanoids moving in formation, that's not just choreography, that's infrastructure, synchronization, perception, timing, control, and recovery across many units at once. And if you're thinking, okay, but what does that have to do with jobs? That's the point. China isn't just showing athletic robots, they're showing what mass deployment could look like once humanoids become a product category. Now let's flip back to the US for the curveball. Faraday Future, known for AV ambitions, used the NADA show in Las Vegas to announce a robotic push through a new subsidiary. And they didn't come with vague demos. They came with products, pricing, and timelines. They announced 3 robot series: FF Futurist, which is a humanoid, FF Master, which is also a humanoid, and then FX Aegis, which is a quadruped. They also described an ecosystem concept, including an open platform or brain idea, and a data factory farming, basically positioning robots as something that improves through deployment and continuous learning. But the part that makes people pay attention is the pricing. The FF Futurist starts at $34,990. The FF Master starts at $19,990, and the FX Aegis starts at a very low $2,499. And they stated deliveries targeted for late February 2026, alongside claims of back-to-back deposits covering over 1,000 units. Now, do those numbers guarantee anything? No. But strategically, this is what it signals. Boston Dynamics is proving capability in building towards industrial deployment under Hyundai. China's humanoid players are proving scale, coordination, and rapid iteration in public, and Faraday Future is trying to be the company that says, "Cool story, here's the buy button." And that's the new phase robotics is entering. Not just who has the best demo, but who can actually ship something people will adopt. If you zoom out, these stories are connected. Atlas flipping isn't about entertainment, it's about whole body control and recovery, because factories don't forgive instability. AgiBot training at Shaolin and staging a robot gala isn't about tradition, it's about proving humanoids can coordinate in groups, operate continuously, and perform in real settings without collapsing every 5 minutes. And Faraday Future entering with pricing is basically a bet that embodied AI is about to become a consumer and business category fast enough that being early to the market matters. This is exactly how new tech categories form. First, you get viral clips, then you get repeatability, then you get deployments. And after that, the winners aren't always the ones with the flashiest tricks. They're the ones with the best reliability, the best data flywheel, and the best manufacturing scale.